Hi friends and welcome back to another video. Today it is day 71 on hashtag ASR 99 days data science challenge, and today in this video we are going to look at how to create strip plots and violin plots with the help of our Seaborn package. So here I have already imported our Seaborn package and I have loaded our tips dataset too, and let's get started. So, what is a strip plot? A strip plot is a graphical data analysis technique for summarizing a univariate dataset. The strip plot is an alternative to a histogram or a density plot, but it is typically used for smaller datasets. When it comes to a larger datasets, we will go for histograms and KDE plots. Now let's look at how to create strip plots for a single variable. So in order to create a strip plot, we use the function strip plot sns.strip plots, and in which I will take my parameter x and I will set it to the tip column, and these come from the data tip, and let's run it out, and here is our strip plot. We can also do the same for our total bill column. So sns.strip plot, in which I will take my parameter x and set it to be the total bill, and then I will take my data where this column comes from the tips dataset. Oops, it is total, and yeah, here it is. We can also change the color by using the parameter color, and let's say change it to green maybe, and here we are. Now let's look at how to create strip plots for two variables. So in order to create a strip plot for two variables, we use the other parameter y. So sns.strip plot, where my x is going to be the column day and y is going to be my column total bill, and they are coming from my data, which is tips. Oops, not inside the quotes, and here they are. So now here we can see that these spots or these points are just like a straight line. So now let's say you want them to be more dispersed. So in order to do that, we use our parameter jitter. So let me take jitter, and firstly let's set it to false, and now here we can see that it is now a straight line because they are not dispersed at all. And now let's change it to a particular value, let's say 0.5. Oops, they are scattered many more, so let's take the value 0.3, and now it's pretty good. And this is how we disperse our plot. And also we can use our line width parameter. So line width, and let's set it to 1.5 maybe, and yeah, here you can see that there is a line over our points, and we can also change their colors by using the parameter edge color, and let's change it to yellow, and here they are. And even here we can use our hue parameter. So let me show you sns.strip plot, where my x is going to be the column day, y is going to be the total bill, and they are coming from my data, which is the tips. And finally I'm going to use the parameter hue, and let's set it to smoker, and here it is, where the blue dots represent the smokers and the yellow, the orange is for the non-smokers. And now let's say you don't like this, rather you want a separate strip plots for the smokers and for the non-smokers. So in order to do that, we can use a parameter named as the dodge. So dodge equals, and we have to set it to true. And now here we have separated the strip plots, that is for the smokers and for the non-smokers, and we can do the same for the column 6 too, and here it is. Also we can change the size of our points. Let's say I want, by default their size is 5, and now let's say I want to change them to be 3, and here it is. and also we can use the alpha parameter. So alpha equals, and let's set it to 0.5, and I'm changing the size to 7, and now here we can see the difference. So now let's create some violin plots. So a violin plot is a method of plotting a numeric data. So violin plot is a combination of a box plot and a kernel density plot. So now let's create one. Now firstly let's start with creating a violin plot with the help of a single variable. So in order to create a violin plot, we use the function violin plot, and now I'm taking my column X to be the tip where they are coming from my data tips, and here it is. So already I have mentioned that the violin plots are a combination of box plot and a kernel density plot. So here this is our box plot. So if you remember, while creating a box plot, this will be the line of the, if you remember our box plot, this will be the minimum value, this will be our first quartile, this will be our third quartile, and this will be our maximum value, and this is similarly like that, and this point, that white dot, is representing the median value. And now let's create another violin plot, and this is the kernel density estimator plot. And the kernel density estimator plot are symmetrical, and so we call this as a violin plot because it looks like a violin. And now sns dot violin plot, I'm taking my X to be the total bill, and then the data which is from my tips, and here it is. And also we can change the color too. So color equals, let's change it to red, and here it is. So now let's look at how to create a violin plots for two variables. So sns dot violin plot, where I will take the variable X to be the size and the variable Y to be my total bill, and they are coming from the data which is the tips, and here it is. And let's create another one, that is, let's take the X as from size to, let's change it to day, and here they are. And even here we can use our hue parameter. So let me show you. Hue equals, I'm changing it to be the 6, and here they are. Also we can use the palette, palette, and now let's take our palette to be the spring, which is pretty nice. Here we can see that we have two violins, but they are symmetrical. So it takes an extra space. So why we need that? It doesn't make any sense. So what if we combine both? In order to do that, we can use our parameter split. So let me show you. Split, and by default it is false, and now let's set it to true, and here you can see the difference. This is pretty much cool than the above one. And here we can see that we have a box plot line over here, and now let's say we want them to be horizontal, and in order to do that we can use a parameter named the inner. So let's change it inner, and we have to change it to the, and we have changed it to the value quartile, and now here we can see the difference. And yeah, that's all for today in this video. And in this video we looked at how to create strip plots using single variables with a couple of variables, and also we have played around with their parameters, and we moved on to create a violin plots using single variables and using two variables, and then we used their parameters too. Thanks for watching. Like the video, leave a comment down below, and let's meet on day 72.